with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. Do we have any public comment from the board?
I do have one announcement from the Lunenburg Historical Society, who wanted me to announce that they will be open on this Saturday, February 13th, at the new hours of 1 to 3, and they will be continued to be open every Wednesday from 9 to 12. That's a change, I think, in the Saturday hours, but this Saturday, February 13th, from 1 to 3 in the afternoon, and they'll be open every Wednesday from 9 to 12.
I'll just note that the Lunenburg Water District is meeting tomorrow. It's posted outside Town Hall, but it wasn't on their Facebook page or their web page.
And the pancake breakfast has been canceled this week. They were worried about the weather, and so they had to make the call yesterday.
Okay. I have two announcements. One is the last day to register to vote in the March 1st, 2016 presidential primary and the special state election for Precinct B is Wednesday, February 10th, 2016. That's tomorrow, at 8 p.m. in the town clerk's office here at Town Hall. February 10th is also the last day to change party affiliation for those elections, and absentee ballots are available for the presidential primaries. For more information, you can contact the town clerk's office at 582-4130. Also, we are looking for people to join the Memorial Day Committee to plan this year's Memorial Day activities, particularly veterans or active duty military, but anybody that would like to be part of the planning and committee to make that day happen, please contact the Selectmen's office. All righty. Our agenda first item is to amend the name on an auto dealer license to correct a spelling error.
Yeah, so this appears just to be a typographical error. You approved this license previously at a meeting in December, so there's no motion needed to approve it. I would just request signature so that we can get the new license out to the business owner.
Okay. Second item is a discussion or determination on availability and use of existing FY16 appropriation for the Stormwater Task Force.
So if you don't mind, I'll start because I'm the person who's being a little difficult about this. There is a line item in the fiscal 16 budget for $40,000 for stormwater projects, and it is in the DPW budget. When the budget was put together, we didn't have any specific projects in mind, so it's not competing for anything. As you know, you established a stormwater task force, and I have reviewed this with the chair of the task force, and I just want to be clear what the board's intention is with regard to the task force and spending money. When I reviewed the goals of the task force, it wasn't immediately clear, and it's not typical that we have a task force that would essentially appropriate money. So I just want to have some discussion so it's clear whether or not you want the task force to go ahead and program those funds, or if you're looking for the task force to make recommendations to the board to program the funds. As the person who's responsible for the proper spending of the funds, I just want to have that clear.
I, for one, would say that this board, we would ask for recommendations, and this board would appropriate the funds. Only because it's an appointed board.
I would tend to agree. Are there any identified costs yet, or is it to be determined?
You know, it's fine to do it either way as far as I'm concerned. You know, I'm thinking that the task force members may attend conferences or need to get some training. If if we apply for any grants, of course, I know it's FY16, so it would be now, you would need to be able to identify matching funds, and so that would be a source of matching funds. If we wanted to join a stormwater coalition, I'm sure there's a fee for that. Something else would be, let's say we're doing a pavement project, and we need engineering or implementation of stormwater remediation that was unanticipated. Could we pull some funds for that, to actually do something? Another thing would be, I looked at the MS4 permit that Jack has to submit every year. It's not the permit, but what is it? It's a report that he has to put in every year. And he had identified last year a town-wide cleanup for last spring, that there would be trash bags made available for people to collect trash and clean up around the lakes and, just around town. And I'm not sure why he didn't do that. Maybe it was lack of funds. Could funds be used for something like that? Because that's part of the education outreach, I think, making people aware of that sort of thing.
Do you think you'll be needing any funds for consulting services this year?
That seems to be an issue. When would you need to employ a consultant? For example, when I was working with Lake Shirley and we were submitting the grants for the 319 project, we submitted probably 3 and were unsuccessful. But the very first time we hired an engineering firm to take care of it for us, we got a grant. So you might use an engineering firm or a consultant for something like that, or you might use a consultant for training. I'm not really sure. We don't have one lined up at this point.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I don't have a problem with any of the expenses that were just talked about, but I do think it makes sense to bring back a plan and to the board for approval. I think that if a grant does become available that you want to hire a consultant for, I think if you were to bring that proposal back, I think this board would be in favor of that. But I think it does make sense to have it be the task force make recommendations to the Board of Selectmen for the expenditure.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. We just really wanted to understand how it would work.
But I think those funds would certainly be available for any of the tasks that you just talked about.
Okay, great.
And I would have no problem with making the $40,000 available to those recommendations. I don't know if that was part of the question, but I'll say that out loud anyway.
No, it was more the process and small amounts to attend workshops or memberships to groups. I don't know that needs to come back, and that's not really a question, but it was more for larger sums, potentially for hiring a consultant, or I didn't even think of this, but as Mrs. Luck mentioned, matching funds for a grant. It really was the larger expenses that I just wanted some clarification on.
Yeah, and I think not only as oversight to an appointed committee, I think just the visibility of the fact that we're spending money and we feel it's important is worth bringing it here.
Yeah.
And clearly, since it's in the DPW budget, if it doesn't get spent, then it can certainly be used for any snow and ice issue that may go on as far as available funds for special town meeting action or anything else like that.
Okay? We don't need a motion or anything on that, right?
No, I'm
All right.
comfortable with that.
Fine. No, I saw minutes in the mail today, but I didn't see, whoops, sorry.
Oh, she wasn't going to ask us to act on them today anyway, because she
Okay.
just gave them to us today.
Fair enough. Warrants?
We have an accounts payable.
Okay, accounts payable for $587,073.33.
We have payroll deductions, but a missing payroll warrant, so.
Okay.
We're just paying the deductions.
Okay.
Just paying benefits now?
So
what
the
it's come
government,
to. That's what
the
it's come
government
to.
gets the
We
money,
just-
but the employees don't. Is that the deal? Okay, I have a payroll deductions of $434,899.43. Any action file issues?
Carrie, do you know if the bylaw review committee has had a chance to meet yet?
To my knowledge, no, but I will have Elaine check on that tomorrow. I did respond quick to that
Oh.
email, but it probably as you were
As I
coming
was driving
in.
up here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, committee reports. Let's start down the other end tonight. Phyllis?
I forgot my typed up notes at home, but I think I can wing it fairly well. The Stormwater Task Force is meeting tomorrow. The ZBA is also meeting, our meeting is at 4 PM in the upper conference room at the Ritter. The ZBA is meeting at 6:45 in the lower conference room at the Ritter, and they're going to discuss the Whalum Luxury Apartments, Gary Lorden's project. They'll discuss regulations and the use agreement. I did attend the school committee meeting last week. There was a lot of things on the agenda. It started off with a presentation by a master teacher. Now, in Lunenburg, there are 12 people who have master teacher projects. They receive a stipend of $5,000 each per year to take care of this. And the person who presented to us was, I think his name is Shay Green. Tim Shay Green. He's a 7th grade teacher. He runs the mentoring program. The mentoring program matches up experienced teachers with teachers who are in their first year in Lunenburg. I think there's something that happens with second year teachers, but that wasn't really clear. The mentoring teachers, they meet once a month with their mentee, and they try to walk them through things that you don't learn in school about the task of being in front of a classroom of children. And they weren't sure, no one could tell me exactly what the mentors receive as a stipend, but they thought it was in the neighborhood of $1,800. And Ms. Loxley wasn't there, and she's going to provide some clarification, and I can get back to you when I find that out. John Launder talked about the cell tower that is going to replace the current 60-foot tall cell tower. It's anticipated to be 75 feet tall, but the lighting will be at 60 feet. It's going to generate, if Verizon was a successful bidder, the plan is for it to generate like $30,000 in revenue plus 3% additional as the years pass. He brought it to the school committee because they need to approve the easement because it's going across school property. Dr. Berthium isn't a butter, so knew that the abutters hadn't been notified, so he wanted to make sure they had a time to express their opinion. And so they're going to vote on it next week. Then town meeting has to also approve the board our board entering into a long-term contract. So it's not going to be done immediately. Then there was a presentation by Jim McAuliffe about a summer enrichment program. Because school's getting out 2 weeks early, they're offering a program for those 2 weeks, and they're going to use faculty as well as people that are in college, that sort of thing. And so they'll have a faculty member and an assistant with maybe about 14 kids. And it'll be arts and enrichment, and they hope to make a profit that they can use for funding activities. I guess he was talking about hoping to get some money for help with the turf field. He just talked about student activities. And later on, Mr. McAuliffe came back and did another presentation on turf fields. I think he had done the same presentation at the building committee, the school building committee. And he had 3 different scenarios. One was one artificial turf field, and they would use the $30,000 from the cell towers as well as $25,000 from the school and additional contributions from other groups that use the fields. But then he went into his second choice, or the second idea was two artificial turf fields, and a third idea was 3 artificial turf fields. And so it was a lengthy presentation. At the end of it, a gentleman who works with Real Grass came up and had shared some opinions, but he'll be at the school building committee meeting tomorrow night to share his views. And that's going to be a televised meeting, right? What else was there? There was one more thing. Oh, two more things. Dave Berthume and Lisa Normandin came and presented a check for $36,000 to the school committee for the new playground at Turkey Hill Middle School. Guess there's only about $3,000 left to raise, so get your checkbooks out. They're still looking for money. And the school committee also accepted the donation from Powell Stone and Gravel to create the outdoor classroom. I'm not sure of the exact figures because last night's figures were different from the figures that Mike Mackin presented when he met with us last week, but it's in the neighborhood of $40,000. And the work that he's going to do will be about 30 of it. Do you know exactly, Tom?
I know the whole thing is about, the donation is about $40,000. I don't know the exact number. I'm assuming we will get it tomorrow night with the school building committee.
And they were able to accept the donation, but they want to hold off on the naming rights because they want the Powells to be there so they can thank them in person when they discuss naming the room for that group. And I think that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Bertram?
No reports as I was out of town.
Mr. Johansson?
Cable Advisory will not have a meeting this month because we are waiting on PAC's finalization of their business plan, and their meeting last night got canceled because of the weather, so they are going to meet next Monday, which is when we were going to meet. So we're pushing our meeting and give them some extra time into March.
I just saw a note today, next Monday is a holiday too, so I think it's the 22nd.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, we put, the Cable Advisory is postponing until March, so the third Monday in March.
Okay.
Will be our meeting. Finance Committee met on Thursday. Many of the members here were there for a presentation by Mr. Mark Abrahams, who took us behind the curtain of Chapter 70 funding and
Lost us.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was chock full of very good information and talked about the complexities of it. And if there's one word I got out of that is that there's lots of formulas.
Yes.
Nobody really knows what the formulas are, although I've heard, and I asked the question, that it's in the statute about how it's done, but suffice to say, he explained all the basic terminology from foundation budget to net school spending to actual school spending, et cetera, and how that gets, spread in each community, how it's dealt with regional schools and regional technical schools. So it was really good. It was on TV, and it will be on, if it isn't already, it will be on.
Already.
Okay, it's on YouTube. And if you're interested, it is very fascinating, and he makes a very, very complex subject very understandable. So we've heard him before several years ago. He was doing the same presentation, and he hasn't lost a beat. He's just as sharp, so that's good.
It was great to have it televised, too.
Yep. And the School Building Committee, as Mrs. Luck has already said, is here tomorrow at 6:30 for a televised meeting. So please, if you have questions or anything, or just want to attend, we encourage the public to come and listen, come and participate, and we will hear the latest updates on everything about the project, contingency, plans, items, etc. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Ubersol.
The only report I have is the sewer commission is meeting tonight.
All right. And I have no report, but just to follow up on the building reuse, as a result of last week's meeting, we're doing some individual work, like meeting with PAC on the 22nd to get their detailed needs for space, meeting with potential tenants in the wing of the Passios that we discussed, et cetera. So there's ongoing work, and then there's an outstanding piece that we'll need to talk about in terms of what action, if any, needs to be done at the annual town meeting relative to that, and to be sure we get that on the warrant. Okay, town manager?
Just a few quick items. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our DPW staff who did another excellent job clearing the roads and keeping them cleared through the day yesterday and overnight into the early morning hours. These storms that span over a number of hours are very difficult on a very small staff, and they do a great job, and they should be commended for the work that they do. The fiscal 17 budget presentation will be at the Finance Committee meeting this Thursday at 7 p.m. in this room, and that meeting will be televised. And the last item I wanted to mention is at the Finance Committee meeting last week, one of the items that we discussed was the Chapter 70 resolution. And so I had sent that out to this board maybe a week or so before the meeting. If you were at the meeting, you will recall that the members that were there voted to approve the resolution. I do have a copy of it here this evening. I'm not sure that everybody's had a chance to read it, though. So at some point, we would like to have this signed. We did have three members at the meeting, all voting in favor of that. So we would like to have that signed so that we can forward it along to our legislative delegation. So perhaps if you were at the meeting and you would be willing to sign, that would be helpful. I will pass that down, and that's it for my reports.
While that's going down, I also just want to echo the town manager's praise of the DPW. They have done a really fine job, and it is tough when it gets to be light and lengthy, because they have to really time when they treat the road, how they treat the road, and I think they've done an excellent job keeping pace with it and keeping the road safe without, overkill. They really have tempered it correctly, so, congratulations to them on a job well done.
I agree. I spent 6 hours coming back from New York yesterday, and our roads were as good, if not better, than some of the roads between New York and here. Next item, we have a interview, appointment, reappointment on the recommendation of the Lunenburg Senior Citizen Property Tax Work-Off Committee, a recommendation to appoint Nancy Forrest to that.
So this is a committee, it's a 5-member committee made up of both residents and staff members that review all of the applications that are received by seniors in town interested in participating in the tax work-off committee, in the tax work-off program. The program is an opportunity for seniors to exchange some hours of service for an amount off of their annual property tax bill. There is an application that any interested person completes, and those applications are reviewed and screened by the committee. The applicants occasionally have interviews with the committee to determine what their areas of interest are in the committee, in addition to making sure that the applicant meets the criteria of the program, matches the applicant up with a job within the town. There are several departments that have had seniors employed in the past. We've occasionally had somebody in the Selectmen's office, and we're looking forward to have somebody in the Selectmen's office again. But they work across all departments, and they provide really an invaluable service. They're doing work that wouldn't be done but for this program. So this is a request to appoint Nancy Forrest, who is an employee in one of the employee slots to the committee. Her particular expertise is in reviewing the applications they have. There's a financial component, and so she is particularly helpful to the committee in being able to ensure that the applications or the applicants meet the financial criteria of the program.
I would move that we appoint Nancy Forrest to the Seniors Taxation Work-Off Committee.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay.
I want to applaud them for I think, the longest named committee in town. Lunenburg Senior Citizen Property Tax Work-Off Committee.
All right.
What's the acronym?
I'm not in.
All righty. Is there any, I think we're at the end of our agenda. Is there any public comment from the board? We next meet on February 16th here, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.